Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to to you, Miss Beer. I am Caryll and Asignar from BSBA 2D Econ 122 73013, and this video is about assignment in fiscal policy. The first question is we have what is fiscal policy and how does it work? Fiscal policy refers to the use of government spending and tax policies to influence economic conditions, particularly macroeconomic conditions such as aggregate demand, employment, inflation, and economic growth. Fiscal policy works hand in hand with monetary policy, which is erected by central banks. Number two is what is the government budget and what are the possible sources for it? A government budget is a financial plan that outlines the government's expected revenue and or proposed expenditures for a specific period, typically 1 year. It serves as a roadmap for government's financial activities and reflects its priorities and policies. Here are some possible sources of government budget, and these are taxes, borrowing, fees and charges, grant, grants and aid, asset sales, natural resources revenue, dividends, and profits. Number three, what is the budget deficit, budget surplus, and balance sub budget? A budget deficit occurs when government expenses exceed revenue. It means that the government is spending more money than it is, bringing in through taxes and other sources of income. While budget surplus occurs when government's revenue exceeds its expenses, it means that the government is bringing in more money that it is spending. And lastly is the balanced budget refers to a situation where a government's revenue is equal to the expenses. In a balanced budget, there is either a deficit nor a surplus. Number four, what are the types of fiscal policy and explain thoroughly what happens in each type. There are I, two main types of fiscal policy, and these are ex- expansionary fiscal policy and contractionary fiscal policy. Expansionary fiscal policy, the goal of expansionary fiscal policy is to stimulate economic growth and increase aggregate demand. Next is the contractionary fiscal policy. The goal of contractionary fiscal policy is to reduce inflationary pressures and slow down an overheating economy. It also reduces overall spending in the economy, which can help to control inflation. And lastly is the number five, enumerate and explain some criticisms of fiscal policies. While fiscal policy can be effective in managing the economy, they're not without criticism. Here are some common criticism of fiscal policy. First is the timing and implementation. It can be challenging for policymakers to accurately predict the state of economy and determine the appropriate timing and magnitude of fiscal measures. Next is political influence. It can be subject to political influence and or short-term rather considerations of two goods or services that an economy produces when it's given resources and technology. It represents the trade-offs that a society faces when allocating its resources between the production of different goods. Next is question number five. Differentiate comparative versus Absolute advantage and how does it work? Comparative advantage and absolute advantage are concepts used in economies to analyze the benefits of trade between countries or individuals. They both relate to the ability to produce goods or services more efficiently, but they have different focuses and implications. Now, moving on to the last question. Enumerate and explain what are the common barriers to international trading. There are several common barriers to international trading that can limit or restrict the flow of goods and services between countries. These barriers can be classified into two main categories, and these are tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers. Tariff barriers are taxes or duties imposed on imported goods and services. They increase the price of imported products, making them less competitive compared to domestically produced goods. Non-tariff barriers are regulatory measures or policies that restrict trade without involving the imposition of taxes or duties. And that will be all. Thank you.